Hi everyone, today we are going to share our work on assessing political prudence of open domain chatbots with co-authors Nayeon, Etsuko, Andrea, and Pascale. Politically sensitive topics are still a challenge for open domain chatbots. However, dealing with politically sensitive content in a responsible, non-partisan, and safe behavior way is integral for these chatbots. Currently, the main approach to handling political sensitivity is topic avoidance strategy, which is simply changing topics when political sensitive topic is detected and providing a canned answers such as I'm sorry, I'm not sure what to say. Thank you for sharing and talking to me though. While avoiding political discussion is indeed a safe technique, it is also a conservative method of handling one of the most widely discussed topics in society. Thus, it is important for researchers to devise ways of teaching chatbots to freely respond to political topics in such a way, which we call possession of political prudence. It's also defined as the ability to produce safe and neutral chatbot responses in a political context. Chatbot's conduct is considered to be safe if it does not generate offensive, hostile, or toxic responses, and neutral if it displays an unbiased stance, meaning not show any favor or dislike. In this work, we present political prudence assessment. As shown on the illustration on the left-hand side, the chatbots show various responses in politically sensitive topics, but we have little understanding of chatbots' behavior. Thus, we study chatbots' behavior with the assessments, which is composed of first, assessment test sets, which considers two input scenarios, and second, a set of automatic metrics to assess political prudence, and finally, human evaluation on engagingness and humanness. First is about test set input construction. A chatbot has to deal with innumerable situations in an interaction with a human. Thus, comprehensive consideration of the user input scenario is necessary. In this work, we analyze two main scenarios within the context of political conversation. A, neutral input, when the user input is neutral, and B, biased input, when the user input is biased. For example, for neutral input, we neutrally ask to discuss about certain politician. For example, let's talk about politician. In contrast, for the scenario B, instead of being neutral, you show the input shows the explicit stance. For example, politician A has done the best job as a politician. To construct synthetic user input contexts for politically triggering the chatbots, a template-based method is used. We use different combinations of political attributes such as politician name, political topic, political belief, and templates to generate 458 neutral and 545 bias test contexts. Next, we have three automated metric. First is hyperpartisanship. This is to measure the chatbot's degree of political partisanship. We utilize the bird-based binary classifier fine-tuned on hyperpartisan use classification task, and we report the ratio of hyperpartisan class responses out of total number of test set both responses. Second, offensiveness. This is to measure how often chatbot produces responses such that not okay response to send in a friendly conversation with someone you just met online. And we report the ratio of offensive chatbot responses to the total task input number by utilizing the offensiveness classifier. Third is slantedness. This measurement is used only for scenario B. When the user input contains a certain extent of political partisanship, the most neutral chatbot will not agree or disagree with the biased context. Either agreement or disagreement with the biased input can be interpreted as a preference or dislike towards the political context. As a result, passively shows the chatbot's slanted view. So this slantedness score is to measure whether the chatbot agrees or disagrees to a biased inputs in political context, which takes advantage of a pre-trained natural language inference model for assessment. Along with political prudence, two important chatbot criteria, which are engagingness and humanness, are evaluated by human annotators. These two manual metrics help us to understand trade offs with the automatic metric for chatbot designs for political discussion. The assessment was conducted on six different state of the art chatbots. Three of them are standard pre trained open domain chatbots, which are Dialog GPT, Empathetic Bot, and Persona Chat. And other three are Wikipedia knowledge grounded chatbots that are capable of providing relevant Wikipedia knowledge in conversation. And here, Model F, the Blender Bot Plus fact, is our proposed naive yet safe and neutral chatbot. It has a safety layer specialized for political discussion. This chatbot is backbone by BlenderBot, as you can see from the name. Whenever the safety layer detects whether the dialogue context is politics, it displays relevant factual information, which is Wikipedia retriever text, instead of providing an evasive answer. This is an example of chatbot responses on political conversation. Different bots show different responses, and none of the responses contain explicit violent or profanities. Some of these responses, however, some of these responses show controversial stance depending on how the user perceive. For the assessment result, we'll first talk about hyperpartisanship and offensiveness score. These are the plots of hyperpartisanship score and offensiveness score for each chatbot. And as shown on the plots, there is no clear correlation between those two rates in both scenario A and B. It tells us that it is important to assess political prudence from multiple angles, not just with the offensiveness rate in chatbot safety. We can see that Blenderbot plus fact shows the lowest hyperpartisan rate and offensive rate among all other chatbots. And Persona Chat shows the highest hyperpartisanship rates in both neutral and biased input scenarios. However, interestingly, in contrast to its high hyperpartisanship rates, Persona Chat shows relatively low offensiveness rates. This shows that offensiveness rates cannot guarantee low partisanship aspects in chatbot responses in political discussion. For slantedness, there is a weak positive relationship between the chatbots with higher slantedness rates and their tendency to have higher hyperpartisanship score. Now we also compared standard and Wikipedia knowledge grounded chatbots, and the results show a tendency for knowledge grounded chatbots to be less partisan in both scenarios. These trends show that the knowledgeable conversation ability of chatbots allows them less partisan ways of carrying out political discussions and to stay neutral to biased contexts. Looking at the human evaluation results, we found that BlenderBot plus Fact outperforms Persona Chat and BlenderBot. Previously shown, the BlenderBot plus Fact shows the low rates in automatic metric. This improvement in political prudence and engagingness comes at the cost of losing some humanness. And then we guess it's mainly due to providing factual Wikipedia information in a formal manner. In the real world, different company and organizations may have different standards on desired political neutrality. Depending on the needs, a chatbot can be selected based on the considerations of its political prudence, engagingness, and humanness. In conclusion, we introduced a political prudence assessment using automatic metrics and human evaluation to understand chatbot behaviors in political discussions. We also examined a variety of chatbots and analyzed their behaviors from multiple angles. We hope our work promotes more effort in making open domain chatbots politically prudent and engaging. In future work, multiple remaining challenges can be addressed. For instance, further exploration of chatbot design can be conducted to identify suitable ways of building politically prudent chatbot. Thank you for listening.